Militarily, from what you're seeing, this isn't going terribly well for either side, is it?
No, it isn't. I think it's absolutely true that Putin might have expected a quick victory based on what happened in 2014. He's put a lot of footprint on the ground and would have expected most countries to have folded by now. I think he's been let down very much by his military chiefs. The logistics are absolutely frightful. But what I would point out is we've got to remember that those troops and the equipment were hanging around for about 5 or 6 weeks on the borders of Ukraine. And I suspect the timing of the invasion was cued by the military chief saying, look, we can't hang about here anymore because all the kit's breaking down, there are no spares, there's no logistics, and everybody's getting tired and wet. So I think they started badly and they've continued to be pretty bad.
Yeah, we're just looking at pictures of the helicopters flying along and armoured personnel carriers as well of the Russian army. But I was riveted when you joined Nigel Farage the other evening talking pints, and you said you were surprised at the lack of top-notch kit that Putin has deployed. No T-90 tanks. These are old bits of kit. It's hardly surprising it's going to break down.
Well, the thing is, Alistair, it's occurred to me since speaking to Nigel that the reason that is the case is that I think Putin was judging the West by his own standards and was actually holding his best forces back in case of a counterpunch by NATO. And if you look at the Air Force assets that he's got available, if you look at the T-90s and everything else, they're not in the fight. And so I think he's got them in reserve in the Western Military District in case NATO tries something.
One thing that NATO will not try, and that's clear from Boris Johnson across to Tony Blinken, the whole lot of them, and we were looking at Russian helicopters for folk listening on radio just before I came in to ask this question. We will not impose a no-fly zone for fear of the Third World War. Zelensky thinks that's a white flag.
Yeah, well, I think there's a more sophisticated argument here. They should have actually been firmer earlier. It's very difficult to make that case now. But if you look at the west of Ukraine, particularly the bit to the west of Kiev and the Dnieper River, that's hardly been touched by the war at all compared to the northeast and the south. What they should do is say, look, this is a safe area. There are no military objectives here. It is a humanitarian safe zone. And frankly, if the Russians decide to go and bomb people there, then we probably need to take international action, not NATO action, to actually safeguard those humanitarian spaces. For heaven's sake, we did it to protect the Kurds in Iraq after the Gulf War. And I've got a question, Alistair. If Russia were to attack Finland or Sweden right now, I wonder if NATO would be quite so passive in relation to responding.